welcome to Bethan's Kitchen and Garden. Today I'm going to be doing a few jobs around the place, and my first is to plant on or sow, whichever way it is, the sweet corn and dwarf French beans that I put to chit about 5 days ago. So here's my sweet corn, and as you can see, there's the roots, and I'm actually holding the stalky bit. So I want to get them into their pots as soon as possible. And I'll just show you the dwarf French beans. I've already planted out a few of these into a bigger root trainer, essentially. So I've already done about 20 odd of these, but there we are. So that's growing a good little root on it, and if I get it in now, then it can establish itself without me disturbing the roots any further. So I have here my root trainers, which I've filled about 3/4 full of peat-free compost, and I'm just going to pop sweet corn into each one. I'm not going to be too precious about which way I put the sweet corn, because it will right itself. The roots will always grow down and the shoot will always grow towards the sun, so I don't need to be too pernickety about making sure that it's facing the right way. This is Rising Sun F1. I've not tried this variety before. I'm not quite sure why I bought this variety. I probably said something about it being very reliable, and maybe it's good for growing in windy conditions, because my garden does get quite windy. I'm not sure how many seeds I've got here, but just put this last one in now, and 5 4s are 20, so looks like hopefully we should have 20 sweet corn, and then the rest I'll fill up with the French beans. And I'm missing one of these root trainers. I think it blew into the field. I think I left it outside, and I meant to wash it, and of course I didn't, and it blew away, I think, is what's happened with that. So I've had to put some toilet roll holders there, which I can plant into. I'm always a bit dubious about how good planting into toilet roll holders are. I've not had that good experience. However, it's there more to keep these upright, because these root trainers fold out like a book, and if I didn't have something here pushing against it, then this one would flop open and it wouldn't do what it's meant to do. So I'll just cover this now with compost, and I'll show you when it's done. Whilst I have all this set up, I thought I would do a bit more sowing, as I forgot to sow a few things the other day, one being my purple sprouting broccoli, so I shall get that in. The first thing I'm going to sow though are tromboncino courgette seeds, and I hope I get at least one of these, because they just look super cool when I've seen other people growing them. They just grow really long and thin, and half the things I grow is because I like seeing them grow, really. So I'm going to plant, I'm going to sow 5 and cover the top and give that a real thorough watering in a second. So that one done, and then got my purple sprouting broccoli. So I only want 6 of these this year because at the moment we've got 9, and quite frankly we're having broccoli coming out of our ears. So I'm just going to do what I always do with my brassicas, which is sow 2 seeds per station, and then I do now take out one and leave one, whereas before I used to sow them and I would then pot everything on and end up with too many plants. So I have become more ruthless over time. There we are. Right, that's that bit done, and then I'll just give that a light covering over the top now. This peat-free compost I'm using, it's absolutely fine. I don't really see any difference between peat and peat-free, except I noticed that the peat-free stuff gets like a crust on the top, so it looks like it's dry, but underneath it's still quite wet. So you need to be quite careful when you're watering, that you're not over-watering. And finally, I'm just going to put some runner beans to chit now. And I think we'll right, well, there wasn't many there, was there? So hopefully some of them will grow. I think I've got some beans elsewhere, so I'll go and have a look. And I think they're the same variety, which is Polestar. So I shall have a look for them. But let me show you what became of the sweet corn. I did say earlier I would show you where my sweet corn ended up, and this is where it's ended up. It's next to the Heinz bush variety tomatoes, and here are the big plug plants of green bean variety is Sprite, and it's dwarf. And here I bought these as plug plants yesterday from the garden centre, and they are Bellotto beans, because I just couldn't find a dwarf Bellotto packet of beans anywhere. So I just need to pot them on as well. Right, the next job I'm going to do is to plant out my rosella plants. I've decided to take the plunge and take them and plant them out. I've just taken that out because it's beginning to go to seed, so the lettuce will not be all that nice. Once it goes to seed it gets a bit bitter, and it doesn't surprise me because this corn salad is more of a cold growing vegetable. It's really good for the winter. Right, and handily where it was is exactly where I want to put my tomato, so that worked out really, really well. Getting my other one here. Right. I think I've got the root of last year's tomato plant in here. So I want to string it up. And I used to use bamboo canes, but I've found that they grow just as well on around string. So I'll pop a little bit of string in the hole there. So there's a bit of bit of wetness there, but it's not as wet as I would like. I'm going to plant it quite deep. I'm going to put some blood fish and bone around it. And I could do with topping the level of this bed up a little bit. But I shall then bring this string up, and then as the tomato grows I'll just wrap that around the string, and that's what I'm going to be doing. So I'm going to get on with putting the rest of the tomato plants in, and I will show you when I'm done, because there's not much room in this greenhouse to manoeuvre around. So I'll get the lot done, and then I'll show you what's occurring. Here they are, all 6 of them strung up. They are looking a little bit droopy at the moment, but that's just because they just want some water. So I've thoroughly watered them in. And the system I've used is just a string from that end to this end, and I've just then attached the string to there. I do want to have them sort of coming up here as well, but I'm not quite sure how I'm going to attach it to there at the moment, because there's nothing up there to attach it to. I think that is sealed either side, so you can't like loop it over. So yes, we shall see, but hopefully they will now settle down and grow quite nicely. Some of them have got flowers on them, or you know, the starter flowers, so that's good. And these cabbages are heartening up, so hopefully they will come out fairly soonish, in the next month maybe. I don't mind 1 or 2 staying. I mean, that one is looking good, and I've still got room down here for maybe 4 or 5 more tomatoes. And then when my marigolds, or if my marigolds come up, I'll interplant some marigolds around here with some basil and maybe some more lettuce once these lettuce have come out. Well, I'm glad to get them in the greenhouse. I'm hoping that they won't succumb to any frost, fingers crossed. But they had to go in, really. They were getting a bit too leggy on my windowsill, so I thought, oh, it's better to get them in. But I want to go and plant some melons now in the other greenhouse in my neighbour's garden. So let's go and have a look at that. While I was at my neighbour's, I thought I'd finish off that plot tour. I didn't get around to finishing in my last vlog and show you what's going on. So this had quite a few different kinds of lettuce growing in it. You can see the spinach is ready to come out, really, and that spinach. But this Swiss chard is looking good. Possibly this Swiss chard. So I might plant this up with some other lettuce. These lettuce haven't really got going. They never really did. I'm not quite sure why. And the corn salad, like the ones in the other greenhouse, have gone to seed, so that can all come out, which leaves me another container. And I've planted up some strawberry plants in these 2 hanging baskets here, which will go outside if these strawberries come to anything. But I mean, they are looking quite sorry for themselves at the moment, but They do sort of suddenly just burst into life, strawberries, don't they? Please tell me I'm not imagining it. I've set my pots ready for my melons to go in there. I've got the carrots really have come through now that I sowed. I can't remember when I sowed, and there's my melon plants ready to go in. They have been sitting on my windowsill, and I thought I might as well plant them out because they're quite big, and I think they'll benefit from being planted out. So here is the plot at my neighbour's garden. The physalis, or Cape gooseberry, these plants look like they're doing nothing, so that's alright. I have got a lot of strawberry plants, and I'm wondering whether to make a little strawberry area here instead. My broad beans, I think they're doing fine. They look like they're doing okay. They've bushed up quite a lot, so that's encouraging. Very happy with them. You'll have seen me plant these radish the last time I was doing something, so they are going strong. I've taken the fleece down today, the onions, multi-sown onions there. I've taken the fleece down today. I think I'm going to leave it off for a couple of days and see how the onions are doing. And here's the spring onions I planted, the multi-sown spring onions. They've all gone a bit yellow around the tops, and these are my Elsa Craig onions, which they do look like quite thick stems there. Yeah, they look quite happy, don't they? And then these ones are an F1 variety, and these are look very happy to me. I'm very hopeful of these actually, although I think maybe I did plant them a bit close together, so maybe next year I'll leave a bit more space. And then there's those carrots I sowed back in August, I think it was, and they've just been sitting, not really doing much. And then finally the corn salad, that's all bolted as well. I've got a few lettuce bulbing up there, and then these cabbage. I'll come around the other side to show you the bottle. I've just sprayed with something called grazers, because I don't really want to be netting a lot this year. I kind of want to grow things so that they look really nice and not under a load of netting. So I've sprayed it with this anyway. Grazers, which says effective against damage from cabbage, white butterflies, caterpillars and aphids. It's eco-friendly, child-friendly, people, pets and planet-friendly. Stimulates and strengthens growth, and safe to use on edible and ornamental plants. So it doesn't harm the butterflies at all. It just makes the plant not taste very nice, so they don't want to lay their eggs on there. And it doesn't affect humans though. We can't taste this apparently. So I'll let you know how that gets on. I'm now going to pot up my melons, so obviously being very careful. I'm gonna put some multi-purpose compost into this pot, which is about a 10-litre pot, until it's about halfway full. So that's about halfway full now. I'm going to put in some chicken manure pellets, which I want to work around. And chicken manure is kind of like a slow release fertiliser, so it'll fertilise the melon throughout the growing season. And then I want a bit more. But then I'm going to put some bloodfish and bone in as well. Maybe a couple more chicken manure pellets for good luck. And then mix all that in. Because the roots will go down and find it. And as I water through the season, it'll push the fertiliser down. I almost forgot to add my perlite, which this helps to retain the moisture, because what it does is the perlite, when you water the pot and there's excess water in it, the perlite will soak up the water, and then slowly as the day goes on, the compost will become dry, and then the water that's in the perlite will, you know, escape from the perlite and help to keep the compost moist. So I try to use it where I can for plants that like, you know, like moisture, I suppose. Or don't like to dry out, rather. That's a better way of putting it, isn't it? We are now at the stage where I can add the melon plant. So I want to plant the melon so it is slightly raised out of the soil. And the idea of that is when I water, the water won't sit around the stalk, or the, you know, the the stem, and because it can rot the stem. And it's the same with cucumbers and courgettes and things. They don't like their stems sitting in water, so if you can possibly try and do a little bit of a mound, then that's all to the good. So I'm just going to add a top dressing of bloodfish and bone and then put that into place, and I'll show you the next part of stringing it up, which is actually like the tomatoes, so you won't be so surprised when you see it. I'm going to wind this around the rope or the string exactly the same way as I did with my tomatoes the other side, and when I watched some videos of doing this online, this is the way the majority of people were doing it. So, and then we take off the first 8. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Well, that would be 7, 8. Now hopefully between 9 and 11 will be fertilized. Here they all are in their final positions for this growing season. There's a couple of flowers left on some of them, so hopefully the pollinating insects will come and do their jobs. And hopefully I was right to take off those flowers, because when I was doing it, it panicked me a bit. But hopefully we'll have some melons this year. I'm hoping to grow about 4 average size melons per plant, or maybe 4 small ones per plant. So that's it from me for today. I've still got plenty more jobs to do, but I think I'll go and have some lunch, well, a late lunch and a cup of tea now. So hopefully I'll catch you next time. I hope you've enjoyed watching the small sort of jobs I've been getting on with, and I'm very pleased to have got the melons and some of my tomatoes in place, because, well, that's where they're going to live now for the rest of the season. So it's just looking after them now in their final places rather than potting them on and all of that malarkey. So yes, let's hope we get some good melons and good tomatoes this growing season. All I can say about my work today is lovely job, and take care everybody.